Tonight we're at the Wayne County Public Library, where historian Marty Cheddar of the Public Library will be presenting a program about baseball. Baseball is very important here in Wayne County. We've had several major players go into the sport from right here in Wayne County. Tonight we're going to see artifacts, we're going to hear people talking, we're going to just have a good old time talking about baseball, the American pastime.
All right, welcome tonight to the Artifact Spotlight for the Wayne County Baseball Heritage Project. As I've kind of mentioned, and some of you may have heard who may have attended other events we've had, we're starting to develop an ongoing archive. It'll be at in the local history to documents, photographs, to really document the baseball culture, which is absolutely fantastic here in Wayne County. And it's just endless stories. And there's so many different levels and angles. So we'll do continuous projects throughout the year. Secondary project that we're doing with the library is History of Agriculture. In a lot of ways, they complement each other. So anyway, you can look forward to future events as well. Tonight's event is pretty special. We're going to focus on sharing stories. I mean, you see names and you see pictures, but we want to add a little more depth, a little more tell on a more personal level who people were as people, as individuals, through some rarely seen artifacts that are here in Wayne County. This isn't Raleigh, this isn't Greenville, this is Wayne County. There's some absolutely fantastic stuff. So I think it's going to be a pretty exciting evening. Just in baseball in general terms, you know, to get to the major league level, it's extremely difficult. When a lot of these guys started, there were only 16 teams. If you get to the minor leagues and you get to the major leagues, there's no guarantees. It's a long, grueling. It's easy. Like when we watched the movies last week, it's easy to romanticize about it, how the big games, that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's a long season. It's a grueling season. And a lot of times when these guys played, it was a different era too. Different equipment and how people work out and stuff like that. But that's all part of the story we want to document. And we'll tell some of those stories tonight. And also, there's different levels. There's between minors, majors, whether you play college, the semi-pros. Whether you play semi-pro baseball, especially when you move into more of the professional paid side, there's a lot of factors. You may get injured, you move. There's different dynamics with people, egos, competition. So we're extremely competitive and difficult to get to the major league level. But everyone has a story, and tonight we're going to share the people, major league baseball players in Wayne County and semi-pro teams. So we'll start off with Jack Peacock, who's the son of Johnny Peacock.
Thank you, Marty, and welcome everyone here to love baseball in Wayne County and in our state. I think before we go any further, though, we all ought to give a big round of applause to Marty, because he has put together an array of baseball facts that even I didn't know about my own father. He has really done a great job. But I'm proud to be here. I'm proud that my dad was a good athlete and enabled him to get to the majors and play with the Red Sox. He loved it. He loved the game. And he became very dissatisfied when the majors first went on strike. He said a bunch of prima donnas, they ought to go home and have to get a real job. The owners locked the door. He was just proud to be a part of baseball in Boston. And Mr. Yawkey, who owned the Red Sox, was like a father to him. Baseball here on the table is one that Lefty Grove won his 300th win. And my dad was lucky enough to catch that game. And it's the box scores on the ball, and it's autographed by Lefty Grove. I wish there wasn't one in in Cooperstown, because if it wasn't, that would be worth a whole lot of money. But I think Daddy, I asked him one time what was his finest moments in baseball, what he remembered the most. And he said, catching Lefty Groves 300th win, and being able to play on the same team with Jimmy Fox at first base, who's in the Hall of Fame, Bobby Doyle at second base, who's in the Hall of Fame, Joe Cronin at third base, who's in the Hall of Fame, Ted Williams in left field, who's in the Hall of Fame, and Dom DiMaggio, Joe's brother, in center field. He didn't make the Hall of Fame, but he was a good player. And he said, you know, he had the lowest batting average on the starting nine. My dad's lifetime average was 267, and today that would bring in millions. It wasn't in 1940 though, but it did. The second thing he said that was really meant something to him, he got a letter from a kid inviting him, telling him that he didn't have enough money, his parents didn't, to go to a baseball game, but wondered if he could come to his house for Sunday dinner, that his mom and daddy would be glad to have him come. And Daddy wrote him back and said he couldn't come because he had a baseball game, but he would love to have he and his dad come to Fenway Park to a baseball game. And he met him at the clubhouse door, took him into the clubhouse, gave him balls and a bat and a glove and a hat, and they sat in Daddy's box seat. In 1967, Daddy got a letter. He said, and telling him I was his kid, he said, and I later became the trainer for the Boston Bruins hockey team and the Boston Red Sox baseball team. And I'd like to invite you and your wife to come to Fenway Park as my guest in Boston. And it just, I think that shows that when you stop low enough to help a kid, or you never know where it'll go from there. And yes, I'm very proud of the fact that my dad was a good athlete and a good man, and he loved Wayne County and Goldsboro and Fremont as much as life itself. And Marty, thank you.
That was perfect. And just when you get a chance, Mr. Peacock let us borrow, the library borrow a really, really beautiful scrapbook that was kept by for his father during his college and a minor league playing career in the beginning of the Boston Red Sox. We got digitized. University of North Carolina did it for free for the library. You can look at it through the library webpage. It's linked up, and there's a lot of great photographs. There's even a handwritten contract from the Boston Red Sox in 1936 for his father. Thank you so much. And one other item here is pretty neat. He was a pitcher, and this is a ball from a game he threw the entire game, 9 innings at Ebbets Field, 1947, which was the big year that he was on the team when Jackie Robinson broke into the major league. So that's really, really fascinating. I mean, kid from Goldsboro. John Peacock to speak on behalf of Clyde.
Thank you, Marty. I too want to echo what Jack said about Marty. When I first, several months ago, someone asked me if I had met the guy at the library that was putting something together on baseball. And I said, no, I really haven't. And they said, oh, you need to go by there and meet him. And I just kind of put it off. And then one day Donna called me and said, you need to come down here and meet this guy. And I've been blown away, as I know all of you have. This is something you really need to tell your family and friends about, what we have here. And Marty, as Jack mentioned, Marty's told me stuff about Clyde that I had no clue about. But it's interesting, I've been hanging around the family for the last 40 years now, and I'm probably the worst person really to speak on this because I don't read the sports page. Except in October, late September and October, if Clyde was involved in it. But I really want to talk about maybe what I would have to say is the rest of the story. A side that, everybody knows about the facts and the figures. Clyde was in baseball from 1944 until he died in 2011. He was on the Yankee payroll until 2010, until he died. He was on the Yankee payroll, and it's a long, long time for somebody to be involved in professional baseball that long and manage the number of teams he did, and have the opportunity to manage both Willie Mays and Hank Aaron. It's almost unprecedented. But Clyde would, I think, want you to hear about sort of what led up to that. Everybody knows big league numbers, but when Clyde was 15 years old, he was pitching for the Borden manufacturing team, which is a group of grown men. Many of them had come out of minor league system and were playing in manufacturing leagues. And some of these guys were in their 20s, 30s, and 40 years old. Clyde always loved to tell the story about playing in Kinley one time. And as a 15-year-old, he is pitching against a 40-something-year-old man by the name of Harvey Pittman. And at that point in time in that league, they only had one umpire, and he stood behind the pitcher. And this one time, Harvey Pittman comes up to bat and hit a line drive right down the third base line, and so the umpire, of course, leaves where he's standing, runs over to the third base line, and is watching intently to make sure to see if the ball goes fair or foul. While he's watching, Clyde hears right across the pitcher's mound. Here comes Harvey Pittman from home plate, across the pitcher's mound, straight to second base. And everybody's screaming and yelling, but he didn't tag first. And the umpire turned around and said, "I didn't see it." And so that taught him a lot about how these guys played back then at that level. Clyde, I think, would also tell you that some of the most significant people in his life were right over at Goldsboro High School. C.W. Twyford and Johnny Peacock. Johnny Peacock's the one that, when he was doing poorly in math, kept him after school to tutor him so that his grades wouldn't drop. If your grades dropped below a certain level, you couldn't play. And he gave her credit every time he ever spoke for really being one who got him through high school so that he could go to college. Out of 7 children in his family, he's the only one that went to college. They lived during his from birth to probably 12th grade, they probably lived in about 5 different houses, from Brown Rig Street to William Street to George Street. I think they lived in 3 different houses in the same block on George Street. They moved around quite a bit. His dad was the only breadwinner in the family of 7 kids. He made $25 a week. None of them went to college. Clyde had an opportunity to go to college and didn't think he was good enough to go, but he got a scholarship. He got some money to go to Chapel Hill. His first night he spent he was to be assigned to a bunk bed in Steel Dormitory, and there was no room for him that first night, so he stayed on a park bench in front of Steel Dormitory that night. That started probably what was a short period of sheer discouragement for a young man. In October, he had been at school now for a number of weeks. In October of that year, it's 1942. So if you will, sort of go back in your mind, it's October of 1942. Here's a young 18-year-old who is in college. He is trying to save some money, so he's working pre-flight program, which is the Navy pre-flight program at Chapel Hill, serving breakfast there in the morning and serving dinner at a fraternity house that night. Then in the meantime, he's supposed to be doing his lessons, and he's supposed to be going to either baseball practice or basketball practice. And he's worn out. He has no scholarship whatsoever. He's tired, and he is questioning, what in the world am I doing here? he knows if he goes home that he's going to be welcomed with open arms. There are 6 other children at home. There's probably a job in town that he can get and begin helping his dad put food on the table. And all this is going through his mind. What am I doing here? I'm not good enough to be here. And he decides one week that he's going to quit. So on a Saturday morning in October of 1942, he packed up his belongings in a duffel bag, and he walked out and stood in front of Will and Jim and put his thumb out. Now, I didn't live in 1942, but I know in the late 50s and early 60s, if you want to ride somewhere, you stuck your thumb out, and typically within a matter of minutes, somebody would come by and pick you up. Well, Clyde said car after car after car passed him. Nobody stopped. And finally, a car pulled up to the curb, and when he leaned down to look inside to see who it was his freshman basketball coach, Coach Al Mathis. And Coach Mathis said, Clyde, he said, where are you going? And Clyde said, I'm going hunting. And Coach Mathis said, well, you know, the rule here is, as a freshman, you can't go home during the first 6 weeks. And Clyde said, well, Coach, you don't understand. I'm not coming back. He said, Clyde, get in the car. Clyde found out later that Coach Mathis was heading to the golf course to meet 3 or 4 other guys and play that Saturday morning. Clyde said they rode around for about an hour, and during that time, Coach Mathis convinced him to go